Holy balls, we're back with another episode of World 1-1 Podcast. Quick tease for the third half of the show this week. We're talking about, has the internet ruined secrets in video games? It's a really, really interesting one to get into. I had a great time with it. I think you guys are going to fucking dig it too. So stay tuned for that. That's the third half of the show after the break. But just before the break, we're going to tell you a little bit more about our awesome sponsor, Imaginary Authors. You should absolutely check them out. Link in the show notes down below. More about them just before the break. If you haven't already, subscribe. Give the subscribe button a gentle caress of the inner thigh in order to arouse it and produce notifications to you every week when a new episode comes out. It's very sensual. And share this episode if you like what we do. And if you don't like what we do, share this with somebody that just pissed you off at work last week and make them as miserable as we have apparently made you. It's up to you, though. Your call either way is good for us. Just share it with somebody. All that out of the way, I am, as always, your host, Roll to the Wall. Joining me this week is my compatriot, Riker.
Featuring Captain Picard.
Uh-huh. You know, I'm just giggling because in the show, it was Picard and the dog, number one. Magically, you've brought balance to the Force.
I have indeed.
All right. So let's dive in with, oh my God, video games. Dear, what have you been playing?
Well, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I played through...
Have you burned your Sims village to the ground yet?
Not yet. No. I actually took a break from The Sims. I played through Return to Grace. I played a little bit of BioShock this week, a little bit of Borderlands 3, and a little bit of this mobile game that's also on Game Pass called A Little to the Left.
Ooh, I've been looking at that. I remember seeing previews for that before it came out, and it looked kind of silly but cute.
Yeah, it definitely killed some time for me. The controls on Xbox are a little janky. It definitely was supposed to be on mobile.
Yeah.
But if I were to play it on mobile, I feel like I would enjoy it a little bit more.
No, I get that. I play Magic Arena, and I originally started playing it on my phone, loaded it onto my PC, and found that while it's perfectly serviceable and playable on phone just fine, that's one of those games that's sitting down at my desk and playing on a larger screen just feels better. It feels like the right place to play it. And I mean, I get it. It's just one of those, it's that feel thing. Like it feels like it should be here. And when it is there, it's just better to play.
I feel the same way about Magic the Gathering. Honestly, I play it on my phone, but it's just better on my PC. I feel like I can really get into it on my PC more so than I can on my phone.
Yeah, no, it lets you kind of really just lean in, get engrossed. Yeah, no, it just is. Kind of lets the board breathe a little better too, admittedly. And while that's part of it for me, I still think that honestly, it just feels like a better setting where I feel like I'm sitting down to a game to play like I would if I was cracking out a deck of cards. I don't know. Oh shit. That could totally be a topic one day. I'll play with that and come up with something, and we'll do an awesome topic on that one.
Okay.
So
yeah, I don't know how I feel about playing Magic the Gathering on my computer though. Like I definitely like it better than my phone, but nothing beats actually having the cards in my hand. And I've been pining after that Doctor Who deck.
uh-huh.
I thought my brother was
The
for me
Commander
for
series
Christmas,
that they did.
and he did
Yeah.
not.
Ooh. In all fairness, admittedly, I've looked at them at the shop more than a few times, and they're salty though. Fuck. That's one of the biggest reasons that I play Arena. So I wanted to dip back into Magic, but I just was not gonna financially commit, and I have not spent a single red fucking cent on Arena, and I've had plenty of fun.
I haven't spent any money IRL or online, but that's because I've been using, my husband's massive collection to
Yeah.
play because he spent the money back when he used to work at a card shop.
Oh yeah, it's a thing you do. So, out of curiosity, only because I've seen a bunch of articles popping up about it recently, what are the odds that you cracking out BioShock had anything to do with all the articles that have been popping up about getting hands-on with Judas?
So, it actually had nothing to do with that. It just happened to be the game that was in my Switch when I picked it up. I haven't touched it since before my daughter was born, and I picked it up, I put it on the charger, and that's what was in it, and I don't know where my other games are.
Hey, you know what? If you've got the collection, at least you've got 3 of them to pick from.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever told you that. Have you played through the whole series?
No, I'm currently stuck in the second one.
Okay. So the second one kind of gets a bad rap a little bit, but I think very unfairly so. I've always said the first game was awesome in the first 2 acts and then just, lost it in the third, fucking fell apart at the end kind of thing. Which, by the way, I'm going to blow your mind. I don't think I've ever told you this before.
Okay.
So, the end of the first one of the biggest missed opportunities is when you're having that whole conversation about the would you kindly.
Yeah.
Well, what's his face is playing golf in his office. He starts pulling the would you kindly thing, and they made it a whole fucking a whole cutscene. Basically, what should have happened instead is he asked the would you kindly, and you get 2 options on the screen. One option to do what he's saying to do, one option to do basically anything else. Take your pick. Don't know, don't care. But here's the thing, no matter which option, it always responds with doing what he told you to do with the would you kindly. Because then you get that moment of the mind control. Because even if you want to do something else, the mind control says, nope, you do this. You can try to do the other thing all you want. Enjoy having your choice stripped away in a much more visceral and interactive. I'm like, man, you guys you were this fucking close to pulling off something that would have been talked about for years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you were this close to greatness and you missed it. And now anytime you go back to it, you'll never get that thought out of your head. You're going to realize what could have and should have been and wasn't, and look at that scene and go, eh.
I feel that way about a couple of the scenes in Detroit Become Human. I've played through that game 3 times now. It seems I always get a worse result than the last time.
That dude's work is
But
always fucking a little off his nut anyways.
the scene where the guy, so you're playing as like the main character, he's an android, you're the detective, and you go to, I think it's like the creator's house, and there's an android in a pool, and then there's the guy. That scene. It's like
Okay.
towards the end of the game.
Oof. But yeah, anyways. So BioShock 2 has always kind of gotten an unfairly bad rap of just kind of forever living in the shadow of its older brother.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. BioShock 2 is a photo negative of BioShock 1. It does everything in the inverse. So BioShock 1, first and second act, awesome. Drop the ball in the third. BioShock 2, first two acts, a little on the weak side, fucking kills it in the third.
Is that why I'm struggling to get through it?
You might be, because BioShock 2, unlike the first one, will drip feed you story very slowly in the first
Yeah.
two acts, but it's worth getting through because they fucking drop the hammer in the third.
See, because I've been considering, like, I think I'm almost about halfway through, and I'm just like, I'm considering putting it back down. I mean, I've only played it for maybe 2 hours on and off the past week, and I'm considering switching back over to Bendy with, a fresh view and seeing if I can get through that because it's just not maintaining my interest right now.
Mm-hmm. Here's the other thing with it being kind of a photo negative. The first BioShock leans more Metroid-y in that it has a lot of backtracking and opening up new areas once you have certain abilities that you couldn't get to before. That whole map has that whole big interconnectivity thing going for it. BioShock 2 is the photo negative because if BioShock 1 is a regular Metroid game, BioShock 2 is Metroid Fusion. It's much more linear, much more forcing you down the corridor, way cut back on the backtracking because you can't backtrack in 2. Once you're out of a section, it's gone. It's closed. So, I don't know, the whole comparison is always stuck in my head that way. I'm like, they are photo negatives of each other. But if you know that, the first two acts with the story, but unlike the first game, it's not going to drop the ball in the third. It's going to fucking do what the first one should have done and deliver that kind of wallop that wasn't in the first. And then Infinite's its own whole wild thing, and Infinite was great until the final, can't even call it a boss fight because they just did that, stand and deliver shit where it's, hold your ground in for wave after wave until we decided that was enough, which was really kind of unfortunate because really, you did all that good shit and you end it like that? Fucking weak.
Ooh,
Or they just got to the end and were like, guys, we're tired. Copy paste this shit.
Copy paste.
45 minutes. Ship it.
Oh, no, I also downloaded a new game that I have high hopes for.
Oh?
Yes, it's on Game Pass. It's called The Quarry.
Okay. I've seen that. I don't think I've touched any of it, but I do have a vague recollection of it.
Yeah, well, Ty actually downloaded it, and then I was looking at it, and I mean, it's a interactive drama horror game, which seems right up my alley.
If that kind of thing's your cup of tea, if you haven't checked it out, you should check out Oxenfree as well.
Oxenfree?
Yes. And I'm about 97% positive Oxenfree is up on Game Pass at the moment.
Okay.
If it's not, I'm pretty sure it's still on the Netflix games thing, actually.
I don't have Netflix. I'm a Hulu girl myself. With ads, because, we poor over here.
But yeah, check out Oxenfree, though. I think you'd dig that.
Okay.
So I won't spoil any more than that, but I have a feeling, knowing you'd probably get a good kick out of it.
Okay.
So,
down so I remember. Ignore that.
Hey, I'm not gonna knock it. Look, I use fucking chats with people for lists and reminders all the goddamn time. Trust me. No
I like
judgment.
to use text message threads of people that I know have me blocked because I know they're not going to see it anyway.
Yep.
And then it goes to the top of my thread list, and I'm just like, oh, yeah, this thing. I need to go get eggs.
I don't know. I much prefer the people that don't have me blocked so that they get confused the first time that it happens to them.
Look, Ty has stopped being confused at this point. I sent him it was a link to a video for, the wraps of how you wear like babies.
Mm-hmm.
We have like these paper instructions, okay? And I spilled some water and now they're no more, but then I found different ways that I can use the wrap. And they're like super complicated. Like it's 2-player. And so I sent it to him and he's just not even surprised anymore. Like he was at work and he just like looked at it and didn't even no question mark, no nothing. Just okay.
All right. So, should I toss in my 2 cents here?
Yeah, what have you been playing?
I've been digging a little bit more into the Dead Space remake.
Okay.
It's growing. I don't know if you're here at this point or if you've caught any of it as you've jumped back in, but there's been an ongoing argument, I think, since like fucking September or October over the Dead Space remake versus the original. And I'm a staunch believer that the original delivered on the horror better. I will say the remake is growing on me a little more since the last time that I played it. I'm sure that LeGrew and Wes are both laughing at me about it. I'm still standing by my opinion, though, that the OG did better horror. Technical limitation created ambiance. Unmatched. But
well,
there's a few things in the remake that are winning me over in terms of at least looking at it going, no, I could see the value in this, but I don't think it's the superior horror experience still. So deal with it. You haven't changed my mind yet, but I promise I will finish it. Just
yeah, I know
take
there's
some time.
a lot of strong opinions in the gaming community regarding what my partner deems to be classic games.
Mm-hmm.
He's sitting right now replaying through the remake of Resident Evil, like all of them.
Yeah.
He asked me if I wanted to play through. I was like, no, I've played the original. Why would I? I don't personally go for remakes, but
Prime Remaster was hella worth it, though.
Prime.
Oh, yeah. They did the remaster of Metroid Prime a little more than a year ago. Gorgeous. And I stress remaster, not remake. It is almost shot for shot.
Okay.
There's a few tweaks here and there, but it is the same game, just prettied up. Like go watch a trailer. My God, stunning. And don't get me wrong, the OG 20 years ago still holds up just fine. I'm not gonna lie, I'm still glad I've got this remaster because it's fucking pretty.
A remaster that I would play through would be are you familiar with the game Journey?
Yeah.
Yeah, that game is gorgeous. I would play through like a remaster of that game.
See, that's the thing. Journey doesn't need it. It is stylized to where you maybe just do an HD of it, touch up some visuals, but a remaster, there's not so much really there to reskin and remaster because they use that art style.
Well, mind you, I haven't played it on my big television yet. I only have ever touched it on like a 40-inch. So, I might like it even more being on a larger screen. So there is that.
Yeah. But anyways, what else have I been playing? Shit. So I'm glancing over it for reasons I'll explain in a second. And you
Okay.
mentioned it, and I know you mentioned it because I told you, hey, you should fucking check this out because it was really cool. Just recently popped onto Game Pass, Return to Grace. I'm not going to go real deep into this because we have a conversation going with the developers about having them on in the very near future, and I am super fucking excited to get to talk to them because, and I'll just say, everybody should check this shit out.
Mm.
It's a little more than a walking sim, but it never quite crosses the line to point and click adventure puzzle game. I was hooked on the premise alone is what grabbed me. I'm like, that has my fucking attention. And then I got in and visually beautiful, looks great,
Mm.
especially for a little $15 game. Like you want to buy it outright, it's a whopping $15. It's way pretty for a fucking $15 game. The writing was great. The characters were awesome. The voice acting brought every one of them to life magnificently. The story itself was excellent and well told.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, just super excited to get to chat with them about this. There, there's something in the premise of the story that caught my attention for a real particular reason, though, and I'm actually really curious to get to ask about it because ages ago, Retro Studios had worked on some very preliminary design docs to pitch a new 2D Metroid, and it never ended up going anywhere. But those docs and what little bit of text there was, as far as we know, has made its way onto the internet ages ago. And the premise was a AI with multiple personalities is basically screwing with Samus. And I saw the whole, split AI personality. I'm like, oh, I wonder if somebody there fucking knows about it.
Yeah, without saying too much, that's honestly what grabbed my attention too. Like I know that you guys had been, talking about that specific
Mm-hmm.
production company, and so I was like, okay, let me check them out. Let me see what's up. And when I read through that little,
The
summary of the
blurb.
game, I was like, huh. And I sat down and I played it like 2 hours. It's not overwhelming, but it's also not like it doesn't feel too short either.
It's just the right size for the story they're telling.
Mhm.
So, no, it was very well done. I started it on a Sunday night, and all day Monday, all I could think about at work was I want to go home and finish this fucking game.
Yeah, I
And then I
stayed up
did.
later than I should have playing that last night. I think I started at like 2 and I finished it right around 4:30.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's good stuff.
Mhm.
So,
And I know
if
previously me and Zoe had that whole discussion about different games being a little too hard and different parts but wanting that storyline. I feel like this game was perfect balance between challenge and storyline. So I'd really encourage anybody to go check it out.
see, and that's the thing for me. I saw no challenge in it. There's not really any walls or roadblocks, which is why I said this is like the furthest reach of a walking sim before it crosses into another genre.
Okay, look, without saying too much, the beams were hard.
Really?
Yeah, I had to hand the controller to Ty. And then I couldn't remember when they would tell me the puzzles. When the AI would tell me the puzzles, I couldn't remember, and I'd have to have them repeat it like 4 different times, okay? Maybe it's because, new mom, or maybe it's just because I'm a little stupid. I'm not sure. But it was a
Mom
really good
fog is a
game.
real thing. So, but yeah, if you've got Game Pass, go fucking check it out. It's on everything but Switch at this point, and if you're not playing it on Game Pass, it's $15. It's it's pretty reasonably priced, so you should absolutely go peep Return to Grace. But yeah, look forward to getting to hear a conversation with them in the very near future. Super excited for that. Beyond that, uh, what else have I been playing? Shit. I know there's been a handful. Oh God, I've been playing entirely too much Geometry Wars again.
Again?
Again, I lost several hours to Geometry Wars 1 and 2 this week. I
Low, I
know
was making fun of you for that. Like,
it's
he was like,
it's
geometry?
almost it's almost a fucking compulsion. Like if I turn it on once, I it's a fucking Pringles thing. I can't play just one game. I will sit there and run the same mode for at least 45 minutes before I put it down. And even then, I'll usually just switch modes.
Oh, jeez.
I did just download Pepper Grinder today, though. I've been super fucking excited for Pepper Grinder for a while. I was a bit sad when it got delayed a while back, but it's out today and it's downloaded on my Switch, and I am so going to enjoy playing that in the next few fucking days when I'm not exhausted and have a couple hours to myself. And who am I kidding? God damn it! Fuck! Fuck! Anyways, I think that's most of what I've been playing. I may have bounced a few other games a little bit here and there. I did download Evil West on Wes's recommendation, and I haven't gotten to crack it open yet, but that's waiting for me too. That looked better than I thought it was gonna, honestly. So,
Okay.
but anyways, let's head towards the break. But before we do, a quick shout out to our awesome sponsor, Imaginary Authors, helping you up your scent game with fragrances for guys, gals, and non-binary pals. A little bit of everything. More than just perfume and cologne, though. They've got an awesome line of scented oils, scented candles, and bar soap. My God, the bar soap is awesome. I shit you not, I was skeptical because I'm real fucking finicky about my soap. I've been using the same goddamn body wash for way too many years, and I was hard pressed to think that I was going to find something I liked at least as much. It doesn't just fucking smell good. It doesn't just smell like my go-to scent of choice, a city on fire, but it is probably one of the best like squeaky clean feelings that I've gotten in a long goddamn time. 100% worth. Impressed. That takes a bit. So check them out. Link in the show notes down below. Click that link. Go find yourself some good stuff. Helps us, helps you. Do the right thing. Smell good. All right, let's jump to the break. And we're back with the third half of the show. This week we are taking a dive down the warp pipe, and we're discussing the question, has the internet taken away the challenge and subsequent joy of figuring out puzzles and discovering secrets in games? So this topic came about, and I feel terrible because I have not been able to go back and fucking find the thing that I watched talking about it. But I know it fucking kills me because it was great, and I'd have shared it with all y'all motherfuckers, and I'd have stuck it in the show notes for reference. But and it's been months now. There was apparently an interview with Team Meat. Ed, is it McMillan? Well, I'm blanking on his last name, but Ed from Team Meat, who made Super Meat Boy, Binding of Isaac, all that. Him. He was talking about one of the updates, revisions, additions of Binding of Isaac that they put in some new content, and it was stuff kind of hidden behind a very obscure set of, do this thing, then this thing, then this thing, very old school NES, quirky secret code kind of thing to unlock it. And in doing so, he thought that it was, it would take weeks, if not months, for anybody to fucking find it and figure it out, right?
Right.
Days. Less than days. The internet had cracked it. And you're just like, fuck this shit. I give. There's no point in putting this kind of attention to detail and love into a hidden secret that's just going to be cracked in a matter of days or even hours by the internet. And it got me thinking. I'm like, has the internet killed that experience in gaming? And so I kind of wanted to bring the question here, and I've got some views on either side of the coin here, but we'll get there.
I have a question just for clarification on the story you told. So you're saying someone put out a game, I'm assuming like streamer or somebody, or
no, it was just the internet collective figured out the thing he had hidden, the secret that he had hidden in there.
Okay, and was he upset because it was shared and thus people couldn't find it on their own? What was his?
Yeah, it's, he's like, this is the kind of thing that should have taken, an individual weeks or months to find and figure out on their own. But, the internet banded together and brute forced it, much like what happened with the final puzzle in Fez. And so there's a lot of nuance to this question, just kind of depending on how and where it's and what it's applied to. So let's start with Riker, because you requested this topic, dear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So thoughts, feelings, examples.
So I see it as either way, but I'm kind of leaning towards a yes. I feel like the internet has ruined a lot of things, not just this topic. I mean, it really depends on the player and the game. So like me versus my partner, I have a certain respect for gaming that he does not have. He does not have it. When I was growing up, to get, to figure out these things, these puzzles, you had to buy cheat code books and you had to, right? Me and my brothers all shared one.
You needed friends on the playground at school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me and my
LeGrew
brother
remembers those days.
Pulled in to buy a cheat code book that didn't just have cheat codes, it also had like Easter eggs. And that book did not leave my brother's room. If I wanted something for a specific game, I had to take a piece of notebook paper, hand copy what I needed, and then take that with me. So coming from that, I personally do not look up playthroughs of games. I do not look up how-tos of games until I am absolutely done playing it. But my partner, he will sit there and it irritates me. It really does. It agitates me because he'll be sitting there, he'll have his game paused, and he'll be on his phone. And I'm just like, what you doing? If you're done playing, like, let me have the TV. And no, he's sitting there looking at like step by steps on how to get through the level that he is on. And I'm just like,
somebody's feeling real called out now.
I'm a head out. I'm a head out. I'm good.
It just, I feel like it defeats the maker of the game's intended purpose and just the overall vibe that you get playing that game by looking it up and cheating your way through the game, which the internet has made so easy to do. Sorry.
God damn. Tell me how you really feel, Riker. Tell me how you fucking feel.
Just telling you.
I mean, those are my feelings on it. I get so agitated seeing him do that. And then when I ask him for help in a game, like Bendy, I'm stuck in Bendy, okay? I asked him for help, and he sat there and Googled the part that I was stuck on. And I was like, no, like 2 minds are better than 1. Why are you looking this
let's
up?
Figure this
out.
Because looking it up is easy.
Truth be told, we're both still stuck, but that's neither here nor there.
Bendy's logic can be a little obscure, kind of old school point and click.
Bendy.
Yeah, that's not unreasonable, honestly. It's not inaccurate. But yeah, I had to look some shit up in Bendy because it's not real clear. So
I haven't looked anything up except at the beginning. So I was playing it, and then I took a really long break, and I actually sold the game, and then I got it back on Xbox, and then I didn't have an Xbox or access to an Xbox for a really long time. So then I got another copy of the game, and he has an Xbox, so I started playing it again. And then I took a really long break because we moved and blah, blah, blah. And I couldn't remember what was going on, but I didn't want to start over. So I did look that up, but typically I do not.
Okay. Zoe, for the opposite side of the coin, let's toss it to you, dear.
All right. So I tend to only use it in games where puzzles are a heavy component for the game, like Darksiders. Because I mostly play video games for the story. I want to be transported to, somewhere else, and it's great to be a part of that world. I hate puzzles with a fiery passion, but I may want to continue the story. So now, most of the time, like, I'm playing Darksiders, and most of the time I will not look at the walkthrough. But if, like, I'm running around, like, there was this one thing yesterday, and I'm looking at all the paths, and I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed to do here? And then I was happy I did, because there was something that, like, you pass it, but, like, you wouldn't notice that, like, that's what you're supposed to be doing. And so I'm like, I'm fucking stuck, but I want to continue in the game. And so I looked at the walkthrough, and I was like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. And then I go about my merry way just playing the game. I use them as a way that I can still engage with the story, engage with the media, and not become so frustrated that I cannot continue, especially if it's a game where I enjoy the story. Breath of the Wild was another one. There were, like, certain shrine things you were supposed to do, and some of them, these people speak to you in fucking riddles, bro. And I'm like, I am autistic. I don't understand these riddles. I'm a very, very straightforward, I don't mince words. I don't believe in, like, subtleties or, double meanings to things. Like, it's one of the things I actually hate when I say something to somebody and they're like, oh, you meant this. And I was like, no, I meant the exact words that came out of my mouth. That's what I meant. There was no subtext, no nothing. It was this, which is one of the reasons I hate puzzles, because I'm a very give it to me straight kind of person. So for me, now, if you're literally sitting there through the entire game and you're just looking at the walkthrough and then following it and looking at the walkthrough and then following it, I feel like you're not really playing the game. Like, you are, but, like, what the fuck are you getting out of it? Me, I look at walkthroughs only when I am completely stuck. Now, granted, while I'm there, the walkthrough, yes, is sitting up on my phone, just so, like, it's just there and I can easily, like, scroll through it. So it's there for, like, expediency's sake. But I am not looking at it, like, completely. Or if, like, I want to check and make sure I'm headed in the right direction. so I know where, to make sure I'm like going in the right way. Not so much of a thing with Darksiders because they have like a little waypoint thing most of the time. But yeah, like I'll look and be like, where the fuck am I supposed to be going? So like I said, I very much use it when I am stuck. And I believe that can be helpful because it allows people to continue interacting with the medium and enjoying themselves rather than letting frustration stop them. Because Raul has watched me like so many times rage quit a game because I'm stuck.
Right. Hey, want to play The Witness with me later?
Eat a dick.
Oh, I could never figure that one out. I'm
love The Witness.
So like me, I don't want to play The Witness because I literally sit there with a walkthrough for the entire game. And I'm like, that's not the point of the goddamn game.
Right.
So me personally, yes, I am sitting there. Like Raul even has a big fucking book for Breath of the Wild. Initially, I was just looking at it because it had a recipe thing in there. So I was like, cool, I get to know what the fuck I can make. But like I said, there were some shrines. And like I said, the ones that like the bird singer dude sings songs at you and wants you to like glean something from his fucking songs. I'm like, can you just tell me where the fuck I'm going?
Right.
And like what the hell I'm supposed to be doing? Because you and your sing song, you riddle bullshit, I'm not here for. And then sometimes when I forgot what the fuck they were called, but you'd go into like the shrines and have to complete a puzzle to get your like spirit orb thing. Don't get me wrong, I would try. There was this one with the fans, and you had to turn them in a certain direction. And I turned so many fans, I was stuck in this goddamn shrine for a good minute. Like, I always try to play the game as intended. I don't like walkthroughs are not my, oh shit, I don't know. Let me just look through a walkthrough. No, I will bang my head. And then when I can't, I will like go look through a walkthrough because I'm like, I'm missing something clearly. Like, please point it out. So I don't know if I'm as bad as your husband because I don't know how much of the walkthrough he is using to play the game. But yeah, no, I find them helpful because I like playing video games. I honestly do. But a huge thing that I run into with playing video games is the puzzles. But I might like the world, I might like the characters, the story, and I'm like, should I not be allowed to play these games just because I suck at puzzles? Like, so that's my take on the internet. But outside of that, like the whole thing you were talking about, Raw, as far as like, he put this big secret in there and people shared it. That's fucked up. Especially if it's not like, because I'm assuming it was something like you could beat the game and not have found this thing. So it was a secret, hidden, like awesome thing. Like, I honestly hate when I'm looking through the walkthrough just to figure out a puzzle. And it was like, hey, if you go to this corner, you'll find this thing. And I'm like, I don't want to know that. I just want to find them. So I honestly hate when shit like that comes up. Because you're supposed to just find them and search them and possibly stumble upon them. Mm-hmm. So I don't like that shit. I think the internet ruins that shit, like that part of a game. But I feel like using something to help you get through a difficult portion of a game is not the worst thing ever.
Right. So, LeGrew, I'm going to toss to you, and then I've got some thoughts. One of which I've kind of alluded to it already, but
sure.
Thoughts, feelings, because you and I both grew up in the playground age.
Oh, for sure.
Of gaming.
I'm not gonna say, but even me more so than you.
Yeah.
If by a few years.
Definitely by a few years.
By those few years really meant more, I think, but in this aspect it did. Yes. So the way I just want to say yes to this. This is in honor of my coworker that passed away recently in a car accident. But he always would say yes. Whenever you looked at him, he'd just say yes. And this is the way I look at this. Yes. Yes. It's the internet has kind of ruined this. But also I think more of the aspect was, I want to dial it back a little bit and look at the aspect of my immediate gratification. So if I looked at, like, when I was playing a game when I was a kid, I would have to play the game and just play it. And I didn't have, I could call the Nintendo hotline if it was a Nintendo game and say, hey, but it costs money. So I didn't get to do that. I didn't do it. So I spent a lot more time at the game. And I think that's where the internet was kind of born out of. If you spent a lot of time on this specific part of the game, we'll give you this little hint. Yeah. And we will let you kind of push it, right? But now it's gotten to the point where it's like I'm stuck for like 2, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. I really just want to play the story, and that's okay. But the game is still being made by people who don't really understand that, and they're like, and you go right to the internet right away. So I think a lot of people, like I have family members that do this, where they go right to the internet instantly, and they'll just like play with a walkthrough. And I don't understand that as much, but I get it. The way I play games, I'll be honest with you, is this. Especially now because of YouTube. YouTube is awesome. That's my friend on the playground. If my friend was YouTube, that's my friend. So, who's played everything, by the way. Maybe not in the best way, but has played everything and knows a way through it. So when I was a kid, if we were stuck in something, we'd talk about it literally on the playground. We'd be talking to kids I know and be like, hey, do you get through this part of Mario? How do you do that? And they would tell you, and you would go home and try it. Now, some of that was bullshit. Like the one kid who told you I could melt down the flagpole in Mario with fire. If you just hit it for 2 minutes plus, it would melt the flagpole and it would tip over. That was the whole thing.
I want to let you finish, but I don't want to say a counterpoint, but I have like what's the word I'm looking for?
It's okay. Just say what you're going to say.
Okay. So you said something about how, back in the day you used to, it was very word of mouth, right? Like, hey, I found this cheat and blah. But now, we live in the age of internet.
Right.
And not everything is word of mouth anymore. I can connect and let's say I'm playing, now you could be playing with someone across the world, or this now helps the community at large rather than one person at a time.
Correct. And so that's where I'm getting at. So the whole thing is like, you could have done that and like, you would have had the bullshit and all that back in the day. But like literally now we have the internet, right? Where it's like, this is how you do it. And the community at large, if it was bullshit, the community at large just vote it down. And it would be like, no, that's not that. So I do feel that it's a good spot and a bad spot to be in. It's a good spot where if you really need the help, you're going to get the right help you're going to need. You're going to be able to get through the game. You're going to be able to get through the stuff. But if you're just a person that wants to just play the game, you can do that too. I just don't know if you're getting the value of the game the way it was intended, and that's okay, because if you're getting something out of it, I think that's okay. However, I just don't know if like the games were created that way on purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if somebody was saying like, we're going to make this game super hard. People are going to use a walkthrough through it and it's going to be okay. Or are they saying like, oh, we want them to really try to hit it and they don't. And that's okay too, but then they're going to go to the internet and get this thing. I think we're in this convergence of generations, kind of, where the people who grew up with the hard games are making games, but then the people who grew up with, they're still hard, but we have this aspect of the internet, they're kind of like meeting right now. And I think that might be the big question. Like, are we actually there? And I don't know if we are, but we're getting there quickly. So
I feel like we're somewhere in the middle because
that's what I'm saying. We're in this convergence point.
Yeah.
You know, where like we have some players, especially now, like we have some players that millennials or even younger Gen Zers that are just not understanding the way like Gen Xers like myself, I'm a Gen Xer, like solid Gen X, like how we would play a game, right? And so I think it's going to take a little while. There's going to be like maybe 5-6 more years probably to kind of, you know, I don't really know how to say it, but just kind of work this out. And that's the way I feel, because I see it in my own family. I see it in my nieces and nephews, and I have many nieces and nephews. My oldest nephew is 24. My youngest nephew actually is 1 year old, just turned 1. So I see this like 24-year span, right? And I see all this happening kind of simultaneously. And so it's very interesting. And I don't know if we're going to get there. And it's going to be interesting how it shakes out, I think.
I mean, as somebody who kind of doesn't look things up, I feel like I'm hitting a point personally where unless I have help, which that village that you were talking about, you know, the playground, it doesn't really exist anymore, not for me,
exactly.
unless
That's
I want to
the
get
village
on
now.
the, yeah, and mine was
That's what
my
I'm trying to
brother.
say.
So that being said, without having that, I struggle to find games that I can actually sit and play through. Like, I am not the greatest gamer. I'm not going to lie about that.
Right. I'm
but
not
that
either.
being said, yeah, if I can't get through a game without looking it up, I'm either begrudgingly going to look it up, and that just spoils the game for me. I don't even feel like I've accomplished anything, and I end up quitting. Or I'm just going to get stuck and I'm going to quit the game anyway. And I feel like I'm struggling to find games at this point that I can actually make it all the way through.
Okay, so that's a good point. I've told this to one of my nephews. I've told this to one of my nephews. Are you having a good time? And I don't care how you're doing it. Are you having a good time? Are you enjoying the experience? If you enjoy it, that's the point of the game. Because it's a game. It's a game.
That's why I look at walkthroughs, so I can continue my enjoyment, because if I don't, I will become so frustrated that I will stop playing the game. Like, and it is known for being extremely difficult, and I knew that going in, but like, I put down Hollow Knight, I don't even know how long ago, because I got stuck. Now. I don't think it was that long.
Listen, time speeds up as you get older, and I'm going to say this as the old man here. It happens, and it happens quick.
It could be. Also, like, everything from 2020 gets blurry on what year was what year, and it's just...
Listen, 2020 will all of a sudden be 2026. All of a sudden be 2030. It just happens.
But, yeah, no, I got so frustrated, and one, it was a fight, so it's not really I could look through a walkthrough for it, because... like, I was so gung-ho on doing it with no help. I got so frustrated like that, because that was the goal. I was doing it for like streaming and podcast reasons, and I was trying to keep, because we were keeping a counter of how many times I had asked Raul for help. It was my, phone a friend like counter, and I was so determined to not have to use him. I rage quit. And I haven't picked it up since. So I'm with Riker, where there are so many games now I can't play because, I'm not that hardcore gamer, but there are some games with amazing story, graphics, and I'm like, me not being a hardcore gamer, I feel like should not limit me from playing this game. Now, a game like Dark Souls is meant to kick your ass. I don't expect any hand holding. I don't expect things like that. But when you have more like just like a story game, or something I feel like is not designed.
Now we're getting into No, go ahead. Finish your thought. I'm sorry.
No, and I was about to say, it brings back to what you said. Are these gamers designing them to be this difficult? Or is it just that difficult for us? And so my brain goes into fucking like teacher mode with this, with like accommodations for students. The ultimate goal is to reach this. Now, there are some kids can do it with no help. They're completely fine. But this kid might need something extra. That should not invalidate this kid's progress because they needed an accommodation.
No, I totally agree with that. But here's the thing I want to push back on that with, is that not every game is for every person all the time. And if you can't do it, or you just won't do it, that's okay. I feel like we have so many choices that sometimes if there's not a difficulty selector, for example, the game is made to be played a certain way. And if it's played that way, it doesn't mean if you can't do it, it doesn't mean you're any less of a person or a gamer. It just means that game's not for you right now. It means maybe I'll go play something else. And that's okay. Now, if you have to use a walkthrough to get through it, that's okay too. And the way I look at it is like, I don't think this is the whole Souls argument, right? Like, should they put difficulty in Souls games just because some people can't finish them?
No, and that is actually a good thing. I've told Rawl, because he has challenged me, you would really enjoy Dark Souls. You would really, and I was like, that game.
I don't know that enjoy is the right word, but I think that if you did it and you got through it, you would, by the time it was done, feel like you have had a rewarding experience.
And for me, I told him, I was like, that game will hand my ass to me on a silver platter over and over and over and over and over again.
Love it.
No, me?
Yeah. No, you wouldn't. The game would.
No, 100%. And I'm like, for people that enjoy that challenge, that like, no. Because for me, and I don't know what this is about kind of person I am, but like, for me, when I go into a game, yes, I know there's challenges, there's villains to defeat and things like that. Like, don't get me wrong. But like I said, I mainly play games to be engulfed in a world, in a story. The challenge is not why I'm in it. Honestly, one of the reasons I like my like adventure games, at least I think they're called adventure games. I don't know genre titles anymore. Or like
that's
RPGs,
its own muddy subject.
There's an objective. You go to the objective, you do it, you don't. Like, that's what I want. I hate open world games because there's too much. I want someone to direct me to what I'm doing.
That's okay.
You want something more linear.
So for me, I don't want my game to like necessarily challenge my brain. I do enough with my brain in life. Okay. I don't want my game to make it feel so much like work instead of entertainment and enjoyment. Now, I'm not, and I know that that's okay for me. I'm just saying there are, I don't think Dark Souls should have a difficulty thing because that's their whole goal. That is the goal of the creators, is to whip your ass.
No, and that's what I'm saying too.
Yeah.
It's not even to whip your ass, it's to demand perfection.
Exactly. And that's okay. Like that game, you have to admit that some games are just not for you. And that's okay. We have plenty of choices. That's the whole thing.
We have plenty of choices, but and like Riker said earlier, I feel like our choices are slowly becoming limited.
Mm-hmm. I find myself playing open world RPGs and simulators a lot more these days because of the limitation. Like, I haven't gotten through a game in, if I'm being honest, quite a while. I think the last couple of games I got through was Detroit Become Human and Layers of Fear.
Okay. Oh, Layers of Fears or Layer of Fear?
Layers of Fear.
Okay.
So my thing is like, I get that, you said, well, all games aren't meant for everybody. And so part of me is like, because I don't have a skill I don't have, like me, I am terrible with puzzles. Unless you hand me like an actual like
It's
puzzle.
not that you don't have the skill. You just don't want to, like, even if you had the skill, you just didn't want to do it, and that's okay. Like, if
I
you
get
want
so
to play
frustrated that I want to quit because I can't figure it out.
okay,
And so part of
I get
me
it.
is
If
just
I mean,
like,
then the internet is great because you can go to the internet and actually use the resources there to get through it, right?
right, but I'm saying I'm playing the side of people that don't want people to use these walkthroughs. The one comment you said, like, every game is not for everybody. So let's say right now.
I know that about myself for real. Like, not every game is for me, and that's
So let's say right now the internet, like, game companies are just like, fuck it, you can't put up walkthroughs to our game. Everybody has to just play the game. Let's just say that happened, right?
Sure. Okay.
For people like me, and I'm going to say Riker because we seem to be kind of on the same level here, our ability for games would be so limited. And when I say, like, I'm not a hardcore gamer is because, or not, I guess it's not the right term, but, like, I don't want challenge.
You both are hardcore. Listen, you're both hardcore. You love what you do.
Yes.
You love when gaming, and that to me is hardcore gaming. I don't care if you're like, there's these, like, boxes gamers put other people in. No.
But
if you play games, you're hardcore gamer.
But you we talk about people, people engage in so many different forms of media for so many different reasons.
Correct.
And so
I engage in games. I have games that I play that literally I am just there to kind of like relax. Yeah. And I know that I'm not going to have to go to a walkthrough. And for me, that's like Call of Duty, for example. Like, if I want to play a story of a game and I don't want to think, I know that it's a first-person shooter. Because that's for me.
And so, that's where I feel like then is where Riker and I talk about, like, the limitations, because, I might want to play a game with a certain story, and I love the story, like, forget fucking everything else.
Right.
And I, love how it looks visually. Like, there are some games where, like, Rawl shows it to me, I'm like, it looks really cool, it looks really cute. I'm not playing it. Like, I'll watch you play it. But then there are some games where I'm like, I want to experience this for myself, but because I, at least right now, lack a certain skill, and unless I pound my head against a fucking wall and kill my enjoyment,
okay,
I can't get through it. And I feel like
this is the generational gap I'm talking about, because I think you and I, like, look, we can talk all day on this, and I did what you're saying. I banged my head against the wall and stuff. Especially, I have a trophy, for example, on one Call of Duty game that I'm trying to get for the last, like, 15 years. I can't get it. And
I've got that with Geometry Wars too.
Yeah. Yeah. And the same thing with Geometry
I've talked about that achievement, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm trying to do it. And I'm not diminishing, but I don't even know how to explain it, but to me, the challenge at this point, the challenge has actually gotten to be and I've watched all the YouTube videos. I've seen the kids. And
it's
for me,
just the execution.
And they do it. And I'm like, I can't do it. And I don't know if I'm never going to be able to do it. I'm getting older, and I'm telling you, my reflexes are slowing down.
Oh, yeah, no, we are absolutely slowing down,
and
bro.
I'm still faster than a lot of people my age. So I'm thinking to myself, I better do this now, or I'm not going to get it.
I'm also thinking about my entire life's gaming experience. I don't think I've really ever played a game without help. Growing up, my brother is 6 years older than me. So anytime I got stuck, I'd be like, bro, can you come, like,
you help me?
So he'd come help me. Now, initially, it would be, hey, hand him the controller. Okay, you did it. Now hand it back. And then it got to, tell me how to do it. And then, once my brother left the house, I didn't really play video games anymore. Like, he was a huge part of me playing video games. And then I got with my ex, and same thing. Like, I'd play through something now, and this goes back to me saying walkthrough spoil certain things in games. So, like, I'd be playing the game, and he'd be like, hey, go to this thing, you'll find this. And I'm like, bro, did you have anyone telling you that when you played the game? No. And I'm like, don't do that. And my thing is, because I've had this with Raw too, I want help when I ask for help.
On your terms, yep.
On my terms.
Right. And that's okay.
Don't just
That's what
take
the internet is
controller
for.
and do it for me.
But
Like,
listen,
I
I think that's what the internet is for.
I think it would be cool if the developers are not trying to design a game where the goal is difficulty. Like, they're not trying to make this so hard. I think it would be cool if, like, let's say you are just stuck and you have been in this one section of the game for a certain amount of time, that it puts something on the screen and asked you, hey, do you want a hint? That way,
for games.
That way, I could say no if I was like, nah, I'm gonna figure it out myself. Fuck off.
So,
and
PS5
or
has
there
done
being
that.
like, or there being a section like, you know, in the like select screen to like, hey, give me a hint. If the point of your game is not that this game is difficult, if your thing really is play the story, play the game, and your goal is not to make this difficult for someone to play, having a small option to get a hint for those that may just get stuck, because we do, would be awesome.
Or having the option to do a more story-based experience versus a kick-your-ass experience.
So we're talking about accessibility now, not just if the internet ruined that.
Some games actually do that. Like, I mean, you're selecting levels essentially when you do this, but like when I forgot what game it was, but I was selecting a level and it was like, hey, you just want to get through the story with, like, you know, not a whole lot of like challenging combat. I mean,
yeah,
I
a lot of
enjoy
games do
that in
now.
a game.
Yep. That's how I've been playing through Jedi Fallen Order, is just on story mode.
I was going to ask you about that, because that is the game that I remember that the most on.
Yeah.
So I think
more of that.
I refuse to do the one story mode.
I'm doing that with No Man's Sky as well.
Right.
Well, if there was more of that, I wouldn't feel like I was cheating through a game when I went and looked up, you know, different things on the internet. If there was more of that, because some games I really am just interested in the story, but I know I can't play them, or I will try to play them and I end up quitting just because of the difficulty, when all I want is
the story.
Related to that, Subnautica has that as well, actually. So, and Subnautica's got a
you look at all the cool fish.
That's the one. Subnautica has like a free play mode where you don't have to do anything, nothing can hurt you. You can just kind of wander through. Now, Subnautica hits some technical issues with that mode, because there are some things that as a result don't trigger story-wise, but it lets you free roam and explore, and you can see and find a lot, but to actually finish the game and get the full story, you have to play the game.
Right.
So, and I feel like that was a pretty reasonable compromise too.
I feel like that too, because if you really want to unlock the secrets, you gotta play. And so I don't mind shit like that. I just wish there was a way to say, hey, if you want the story, this is the way to go. If you're looking for a bit of a challenge and you want to be pushed. Now, I get that requires more developing, more things being put in, and more work on the like dev side of a game. I'm not saying that that does not require work, which is one of the reasons why I don't think walkthroughs are bad, because let's say the game is not meant to be difficult, but they, may not have enough money, enough time, enough resources, depending on who's making this game, to put in those different modes, those different levels, those different mechanics. And so having a walkthrough there to help you get through it is great. Because like I said, I'm playing Darksiders. Most of the time, I know where I'm going. I can figure out the puzzles. I'm okay. I'm good. But there are some sections, like there was a thing with a boss I was fighting, and I kept fucking dying. And it was just one tiny thing I wasn't doing. And it was something with, like, my dumbass forgot, because I was trying to ride, like, this horse around it, and I was having a hard time aiming, and my dumbass didn't realize I could hold the lock on while on the horse. And honestly, all I saw was that, and I was like, bet, and I used that, and the rest of it was fine. But it was that one little hint, like, hey, because sometimes now in Darksiders 2, it's just like, hey, you're going to want to use this. You know, it'll give you a hint on, like, kind of what you're supposed to do, a little nudge, if you will. And I wouldn't mind if, like I said, if the game is not meant to be difficult, if you're not trying to give that kind of challenge to your players, give a nudge, you know, like, you know, a small beacon if you've been stuck too long, like, hey, you're supposed to go this way. You know, just a little nudge to keep you moving along would, I feel like, go a long way. Like, I keep bringing up Darksiders, but it's the only game I'm fucking playing right now. There's a little crow, and it tells you where to go. And I mean, yeah, there's the beacon, but, like, in smaller areas, it kind of directs you, like, hey, no, you're going over here. You're going over here. And honestly, it's awesome. I don't use it all the time, but it's nice to know when I need the help that it's there. And I think that's how, in my opinion, walkthroughs should be used, in my opinion. When you need the help, it's there. But I do think sitting there with a walkthrough the entire way you go through a game, I feel like you're doing a disservice to yourself interacting with the game.
So I'm going to throw out some thoughts here, and then we'll close this out, because this has actually been pretty meaty. I will say some of my thoughts on this whole subject also border on the spoiler culture subject as well. But as to, you know, spoiling and ruining the joy of figuring out, you know, puzzles, kind of losing that playground culture of, you know, hearing it from a friend kind of thing. One, the internet has this weird fucking thing of coming to its own unanimous decisions about what things are okay to spoil and what things are not. Because there are definitely some things that the internet has collectively decided, no, we don't spoil this. It's against the fucking internet rules. You know, one of the ones that it was deemed, yep, we're going to spoil the shit out of this. When it came out, God bless, every other post on Facebook was Atlas's Fontaine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That and the alternating post was always, would you kindly? So, would you kindly? I still want to get that shirt one day. But anyways, on the other hand, there are those games, those experiences out there that the internet has kind of unspokenly said it's too good to ruin for anybody, even by fucking accident. And I think one of the first ones of these that I really saw as a shining example was The Witness. And you'll still see it to this day on Twitch. Like, if you can find somebody on Twitch playing The Witness blind for the first time, 9 times out of 10, anybody and everybody watching won't spoil it. They refuse to. Like, I like watching those streams because I love watching people have the aha moment of The Witness. And so, and even when people are asking for help solving puzzles of their community, you know, of their viewers on The Witness, I love watching it happen in real time because it's kind of magical. It just brings a little spark of joy to my cold, dead heart inside, because most people won't give the answer. Most people, when asked about it, will instead try and give like those layers of hints of the rules of this puzzle work this way. So think of this and how to apply it to reach the conclusion and solution. Because so much of that game is about learning a language and how to think in that language. It's really fucking magical. It is. Other ones that the internet has decided, yeah, we don't spoil that. Tunic, Outer Wilds, and all three of those fall under the genre of K-Bug as well, too. And so there's something to be said for, it's like, yeah, if you spoil that for somebody, you've ruined the entire fucking game. You haven't just spoiled it, you've ruined the whole fucking game. And if somebody just bought it and tripped over that by accident on the internet, you flushed their money down. And somewhere the internet collectively got together and said, look, we do a lot of shitty things, but even this isn't okay by our standards. And that makes me kind of fucking happy inside. On the subject of, games having kind of like layers of hints, one that I really enjoyed several months ago, and I don't know, maybe this nugget might actually get you to at least check it out, dear, was Moncage. Moncage is a really fucking neat puzzle game. It's all very perception, literal viewpoint, camera angle puzzle stuff. But Moncage has a layered hint system where it'll be like, here's your first layer, maybe kind of look over this way, and the next layer is a little more, it's kind of like, hey, that thing. And if you're still not getting it because of how much that game is reliant on setting up your camera angles correctly so that different like planes intersect in the exact right way, the final layer is, we will show you exactly what to do, but you have to individually opt for each of those layers. It won't just hand it to you, or it won't just go, here's all the, it's like, no. It's look, we get, you might be stuck, but we want to be able to preserve your feeling of being clever and figuring this out as much as possible without making you feel stuck and having to move away from the screen with your game to another screen to go find a fucking answer. The answers are here and we'll give them to you if you ask, but we're not going to give it to you unless you ask. And I really like that. And that should be a thing that is done more. But like I said, and I don't know if this changes your opinion on it or not, and at least trying it out. But I thought it was really neat and really fucking clever. And I will freely admit, I used that hint system with Moncage a couple of times, all the way to I need you to show me the exact alignment of these scenes so that I can make this work. Not a lot, but just enough that I was really happy it was there. And I was very impressed with the developers for putting it in and implementing it in the way that they did. On the other hand, like I said, you have other games where the internet just brute forced the answers. And honestly, one of the biggest examples of this was Fez and that final fucking puzzle in Fez. And here's where Fez gets a little dicey on the subject here, because the stupid thing is the internet brute forced the answer to the final puzzle in Fez.
Right.
And they got the right answer, but to this day, nobody fucking understands why it's the right answer. The whole collective internet knows the solution. We don't know why that's the right answer. Like everything else in Fez, you can logic out. Nobody's been able to. It's like saying 1 plus X is 5, but nobody can solve for X. We have the puzzle, we have the solution, we don't have the rationale. And so it's a real kind of complex equation that, God damn it, right. God damn, I just looked at our fucking show chat and Riker's in here posting, the game that haunts me is Finding Nemo. God damn it.
I never got past the scene with the sharks, and my brother didn't either.
But
why does Disney come out with these hard ass fucking? I swear to God, for Disney titles, their shit is so
fucking Lion King, yo.
I'm like,
And they
this
should have
fucking
had like
Disney.
the hint option. They should have. It was for kids.
Seriously, like that's a game where part of me is like, you can't have gone into developing this game thinking we're gonna make this tough as nails to play, and it is. Because it was made for kids. Like, this is Disney. A bunch of kids are gonna play this game, but you made it hard as shit. What the hell?
Exactly. Like, you couldn't just run away from the sharks. No, you have to follow the bubble trail, and you have to go fast. And if you miss too many bubbles, you get eaten by the sharks. But also, if you don't go fast enough, you get eaten by the sharks. And if you don't follow the bubble trail, you get eaten by the sharks. There's only one option there. I didn't know how to get through it. My brother couldn't get through it. Why was it so hard? I was a child. It was rated E for everyone.
Now, I will say though, back on the subject here, I think something that's come up here kind of inadvertently that's worth pointing out very specifically is that there is a difference when discussing this between spoiling something that is a skill difficulty issue, like on the subject of something like, Dark Souls or Hollow Knight. There's a difficulty curve skill issue at hand there, where it is all about your dexterity and your reaction and response time versus spoiling something that is not reliant on that is strictly about your level of perception, intellect, and knowledge. And that's a big thing here, or that's a distinction worth pointing out, where, dear, I know you're not big on the puzzle games, but that's a thing where, like with The Witness, anybody can get all the way through it as long as you can think your way through it. There's never a skill dependent issue. No, I take that there's bordering on one at the end with the Hall of the Mountain King. But even then, that kind of comes down to an issue of learning what the game is trying to teach you and learning to think the way the game is trying to teach you and how fast you can think that way. But even then, it's still more about what's up here than how fast you can move your thumbs. And I'm not knocking anybody one way or the other on, do you like this? Do you not? I'm just saying there is a functional difference. You and I talked about this on the subject of Valentine's Day, because I've been looking at picking up a copy of Elden Ring because I've seen enough of Elden Ring to know that there's a lot in there that I would really, really love in terms of like the story, the lore, the world building, all of that. But Zoe was about to buy me a copy of Elden Ring for Valentine's Day. And I said, don't do that. And Zoe looked a little confused for him. I said, let me explain. I said, here's the thing. I really want to check this out, but I don't know if I'm going to love it because I know it's also very heavy on the RPG elements and it's an extremely high difficulty curve game. And I don't know if I am going to end up sticking with it. And I would feel really, really bad if you got this for me as a gift and I ended up putting it down going, not for me. Like if I buy it with my own money and then I say, yeah, I don't feel guilty. I don't feel bad. And I don't want you to feel like you got me something that I didn't fucking like, but but like I said, and I think too, there's also on the subject of, those Easter eggs and the internet culture spoiling it. There's almost a very tiny sweet spot where you tell somebody just enough to hook their interest but then no more. Like, you give them one or two little Easter eggs and go, I think you're really going to like this. And they're like, I don't see. I'm like, there's this thing here, and I'll get about as vague about it as possible with still delivering the information needed to catch somebody's interest, but then no more. And figuring out where that sweet spot is can be a little tricky because it's different for everybody. And that's part of the problem with, the internet culture is when you're discussing it in a large group setting, like the internet, essentially, that sweet spot is different for everybody, but everybody is all in the conversation. So you may have given just enough for one person, but too much for the next, and ruined something that could have been a really magical experience. And
I will say, for me, I avoid that by, like, if someone wants to know something, depending on the forum, because I don't know where everyone is talking, usually I'm like, I'm going to message you, like, directly.
Mm-hmm.
That way, like, I don't spoil shit for everybody because of what I might tell this one person. But, like, I can't do that, obviously, in every forum.
Yeah. And I mean, I've been in some Twitch chats with, somebody watching somebody play The Witness, and myself and somebody else in the chat want to talk a little bit deeper on something specifically and we'll start like a whole fucking side chat outside of the room, so it's just me and that other person and not accidentally spoiling it for anybody else. Like, we knew what was going on, we knew that we both knew. It's like, we need to be able to talk openly without kind of trying to code our speech so as not to spoil. And so but yeah, that's a whole different thing. But there's a good enough place to fucking wrap this show for this week. So let's close out. I want to say thank you to everybody that tuned in and listened this week. I want to say thank you to all my friends for coming and hanging out with me. It's great to see all of your faces. Seeing your faces every week makes me so fucking happy inside. I don't know that you know that or understand that, but it really fucking does. Thank you to our awesome sponsor, Imaginary Authors. Go check them out. Link in the show notes down below. Subscribe, share, do the thing. Go fondle the subscribe button. Make it moan. If you touch the subscribe button just the right way, it gets a little wet.
Promise?
Oh yeah. Speak from experience. But always use protection. So gets a little messy sometimes. Anyways, but yeah, that's it. Say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Yep.
And thank you for tuning into the World 1-1 podcast, powered by the World 1-1 Podcast Network. Press start to engage your mind. Peace!